Now, Christians, I want to give you a moment to think about this. Go on and read it. Read it first. Read it first. And I want you to think about it. Contemplate it. Devise your excuse. I know what you're going to say, but go ahead and think about it for a second. So it says, how could Adam and Eve know that eating the apple, the fruit, was wrong if it took eating the fruit for them to get the knowledge of what's right and what's wrong? Well, what right and what wrong means. I want you to think about that now. And I know you said, oh, well, the answer is this is really a parable, a story that's showing how they were disobedient. No, well, first of all, was taken literally by the writers who wrote it. They thought this was literal. So get the parable part out your mind. And this was a test of this deity to see if they were going to be obedient. And the disobedience was the sin. Let me ask you a question. If they didn't know the difference between right or wrong, how would they know that being disobedient is wrong? Follow-up question. If they didn't know what death was and what it entails, kind of like a child. Hey, don't run the street. You might get hit by a car and die. What does death mean to a child? If they didn't know what death means, how would they know the severity of the disobedience? Just accept what God said because he's this dude that's walking around? He claims to be your creator. How do you even know? How would Adam know that's his creator? But according to the story, he kind of figured it out. But how would they know what's right or wrong if they haven't eaten from the fruit? How would they know the severity of what disobedience means? How do they even know what disobedience means if they don't know the difference between right or wrong? Because obedience, right, disobedience, wrong. I don't know the difference between what is right or wrong. So how would I know? Oh, just trust this God blindly. This is effectively what this story is actually trying to teach you. It's just to accept whatever this deity says blindly. And when you accept it blindly, you just do whatever it tells you to do. So Adam and Eve were never really supposed to have free will then. Because if they were just supposed to accept whatever this deity says is yes or no, to do, is good or bad, right or wrong, yes or no, they were just supposed to do this blindly. So blind faith is what is the expectation of your God. And don't say, well, God had a plan, and in the plan, he was going to teach them things and let them come along slowly. There's nothing in your Bible that would suggest that there was a long-term plan for Adam and Eve to develop into a conscious state where then they're able to handle good or evil. And as a matter of fact, your own God is sitting up there saying, oh shit, man has become like us. His real fear was man developing a consciousness, and with that consciousness, not worshiping him. See, he wanted the blind obedience so that he can gain the worship, because your God has a need for worship. Now, any deity that has a need is not a complete deity, but he had a need. So he was sitting up there really just saying, I need y'all to be dumb little slaves and worship me. Don't learn and become like me. Because by eating the apple, what do you say? Man has become like us, knowing the difference between good and evil. It's right there in your book. That's what it says, not me adding to it. Exactly what it says. So he was afraid of that, and then said, oh, now that they know that, they have become like us, we got to hide the tree of life from them, because then man will be able to live forever. What is this God's fear? If man could live forever, man knows the difference between right or wrong. What need would man have of this God? He would not. And therefore, this God wouldn't get his slave worshipers. And that's all that he really wanted. That's all that he really desired. So your narcissistic, egotistical God set this all up. And the last thing, final thing. If your God is omniscient, didn't he know that they were going to eat from the tree? Didn't he know they were going to fail the test? Didn't he know they were going to be obedient? Why was he shocked? Why couldn't he find Adam? Why did he have to ask them questions of what they did? Why did he ask them about who told you you were naked? If he already knew prior to creating Adam that Adam was going to be, and then Adam wasn't going to be satisfied, then create Eve, knowing then that Eve was going to fall to the serpent, and then she was going to eat from the tree, and then they was going to hide in the bushes. Then he was going to have to kill an animal to cover them with some skins. Then he was going to have to kick them out the garden. Then he was going to have to punish Adam. Then he was going to have to punish Eve. Then he was going to have to punish the serpent. And then he was going to have to punish all mankind. And then he was going to have to kill a bunch of people for genocide and a whole bunch of other stuff to finally get to where he impregnated a 14-year-old girl to kill himself, to forgive, in order for everybody can be forgiven of himself for the thing that he initially set up that he knew that was going to go wrong. Why in the hell did he do all of it in the first place then? If he knew all of it was going to go wrong, because all of it went to hell in a handbasket, not to mention flooding and genocide in the whole world. But he knew everything was going to go wrong. Why? So he can have a perfect little group that makes it up to heaven for him? Why don't you just start that way? Oh, my bad. He did try to start that way. He tried to start that way with the angels. But according to the book of Enoch, that second tier of beings, because man is like third tier, that second tier of beings, they revolted against him. So the free will thing don't work for your God. That's why you got your tree. That's why you got your man didn't know good and evil. Because this deity knows free will doesn't work, because man will not worship him blindly. Well, actually, a lot of y'all will. But man generally will not have worship him blindly and won't be obedient to him, period. Because ain't nobody obedient to this book ever. Ever. So it's a stupid story. And y'all really need to grow up if you're an adult and you believe that this is reality. But you have a great day. And remember always, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey. Good vibration.